Good day, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I'm your host, the Voice of Reason. Well, in today's coverage of the ongoing war taking place inside of Ethiopia as the Tigrayan Defense Forces presses its offensive into Ethiopia proper, into the Amhara region. Right now, the Tigrayan Defense Forces appear to be taking two main invasion routes into the Amhara province. The first and right now the most focused route appears to be the southeastern route. And right now we are starting to see a consolidation of Tigrayan defense forces near the town of Weldia. That town is in the process of being sealed off by the Tigrayan Defense Forces. That is the strategy at this point, is to seal the town off and then possibly enter it, but really control the town by controlling routes into the town. And then taking control of the town, as we saw in Kobo. We are also seeing strong points being set up on obviously the many terrain features in and around Weldia, and that could also be used for defensive purposes as well. And that operation continues. There have been several reports of very heavy fighting north of Weldia, near Kobo, and as the TDF pressed south towards Kobo and Kobo Robit, that occurred as well. But in the west, there is also another route of advance as well, and that would appear to be focused on taking control of the town of Debark, and that appears to be the same methodology, controlling terrain features around the town, sealing the town off, and then entering the town in force, usually after a capitulation agreement has been reached with the local militia forces that could be defending the town. But we've been seeing a lot of these Amhara militia units, the remnants of the Ethiopian army, uh, engage and then at some point break after the initial series of engagements. We have not seen the Amhara militias and the remnants of the Ethiopian army stay for an extended fight. Now we did see a little bit of that. We did see some fairly initial significant fighting in the east, and we still see fighting taking place, obviously, but protracted combat just doesn't appear to be taking place. Usually, their engagements are very quick engagements where one side takes casualties and then the other side breaks off, and that's kind of what we have seen in terms of what has been transpiring in these drives south. And again, that is a number of things are causing that. One is these militias are just not that well trained. The Amhara militias, again, many of them are newly recruited soldiers who have just received a rifle. Maybe they served time prior, maybe in the Ethiopian army, but again, just not a lot of training to be doing what they're being asked to do at the moment. On the TDF side, obviously, they have been in combat now for about 8 months. There was also some preparations that went into TDF operations even prior to that. So we're definitely seeing the better trained and motivated force as being the Tigrayan Defense Forces as they move south. And I think a lot of that is again is motivation. Motivation is a huge factor, and a motivated army performs much better than an army that is not motivated. Now, will these Amhara militias become more motivated as they start to engage the TDF in their own homeland? Well, that is a possibility, and it was a possibility that will have to be seen. But again, there are now two options that the TDF appear to be looking at. One is a possible drive towards Addis Ababa. Now, that would be a significant feat. It could be a challenging operation, but at the same time, given these momentum shifts, it could be a fairly quick operation as well. It just really depends on the opposing force that the Ethiopians are able to field. I think if we look back in history, or even recent history, if we look at, let's say, the ISIS advance on Mosul, that operation by ISIS was the seizure of Mosul was conducted by about 800 ISIS fighters. These were very, very motivated, very aggressive fighters that really struck the fear into their enemy. And now, while this is a little different, we're not hearing reports of the Tigrayan Defense Forces marching into cities and sawing the heads off of thousands of people. That is not occurring. And that was the modus operandi of the ISIS force that entered Mosul. It was a feared force, and probably felt bigger than it really was when it entered Mosul. But at the same time, that sort of aggression uh, could be rewarded, and you could see that sort of operation take place at some point. Is that a guarantee? No, absolutely not. I'm just using it as an example. I would say that as the TDF moves south, they're going to have to establish supply bases. I believe right now they are going to be consolidating near Weldia, and then preparing to move from there. But at first, Weldia is going to have to be consolidated, taking complete control of, and then further operations will commence. As for the west, in terms of the target of Gondar, that is again a fairly significant operation. One of the main issues at hand as the TDF approaches Gondar is the airbase that is located in Bihar Dar. And if I'm saying that incorrectly, I apologize. However, there is an airbase here. They have the ability to fly helicopter gunships and fast-moving warplanes as well, that can drop bombs on targets, and that is again fairly close to Gondar and could be used. While I won't say it would be used as close air support, as I do not believe the Ethiopian army, in conjunction with its air force, has the ability to provide what you would define as close air support. They can launch, obviously, airstrikes on forces moving in columns over roadways, or forces that they have reasonably good intelligence on in terms of their locales. In all likelihood, those airstrikes, if performed, would quite possibly end up killing Amhara civilians. So it's a possibility that exists, but if they become desperate, as the TDF, if the TDF approach Gondar, it would be an option that could be used. But right now, I think there is, within the TDF High Command, I think they're strategically looking at what is the best target to go after. Is it to continue on to Gondar, or the great prize, Addis Ababa? And that would only be if the TDF knew that the Ethiopian army has been effectively reduced, and really was not a threat. And then also compounding that is the ability of the Ethiopian army to marshal more forces. I mean, obviously, if the TDF were to march down to Addis Ababa, and the Ethiopian army is able to marshal thousands and tens of thousands of armed militia who are motivated to fight for Addis Ababa, that could be a problem. However, if that's not the case, then a march into Addis Ababa may be more easier than it actually looks. Again, very large city, sprawling metropolis. Obviously, if there is resistance, the urban fighting would be absolutely vicious if the TDF engages a motivated force. However, that has not yet been the case. So that is going to be something we will have to see. At the same time, you kind of have the Oromo Liberation Army out there as well. So could the OLA get into the fray? Could they also start to advance on Addis Ababa? Is that a possibility? Do they have that capability? Again, that is something that we will have to see. What is the relationship right now between the OLA and the TDF? Are they willing to work collaboratively? Is that a possibility? That is something that is kind of an unknown right now. But again, the fighting continues. The push south by the TDF continues right now. Again, we're looking at the consolidation of forces around Waldea, setting up supply lines, maintaining supply lines, and then looking at what is the next target. As for the same goes in the Western Theater of Operations, north of Gondar. Obviously, Debark has to be taken, and the TDF would need to shore up its supply lines. Again, make sure it has a motivated fighting force that is willing to continue south, a well-supplied fighting force that obviously has weapons and ammunition and its ability to continue on south. So by no means are these easy operations. They are not easy. They're tough, and the terrain that we see in Ethiopia obviously makes it even tougher. Very hilly, mountainous, rugged terrain that really kind of bodes well for the style of engagements we've seen with the TDF. But will that continue? We will have to see. In terms of the western area of operations, engagements still continue. However, the primary focus right now of the TDF and offensive operations appears to be along those two advance routes that I just spoke of. Both sides do have forces, probably more forces for the Ethiopian, Eritrean, Amhara side in the western areas here along near Himara and the Sudanese border. But that could change as the Tigrayan Defense Forces continue to move south and deeper into Amhara territory. That is definitely going to change. We're also seeing some movement of the Eritrean army. What is the Eritrean army doing right now? It just kind of really appears to be watching. It served its purpose in terms of throwing Ethiopia into utter chaos. Obviously, without the Eritrean assistance in its invasion of Tigray, I do not believe the Ethiopian army would have been successful in completely occupying Tigray. It was a necessity to have the Eritrean army attack along the northern front, and that served to achieve a lot of goals. But what is Isaias Afwerki's long-term goal? Is it really to help Ethiopia, or is it to put Ethiopia into utter chaos and civil strife where he can possibly seize opportunity? And he set himself up in that position to actually do that. I don't believe the Eritrean state is really kind of looking to help Ethiopia. I believe it is serving its own means, and it will probably continue to do that. If if the Eritrean state, the Eritrean armed forces, was a true ally to Ethiopia, it probably would have already intervened, as the TDF have penetrated into Afar and the Amhara region. But we're not seeing that. We're seeing the Eritrean forces remain where they were, dug in, and protecting its borders with the Tigray region and the Afar region, and shoring up areas in the west near Hamora. That's all we have for today. I bid you good day, and we will follow up soon. Have a great day, everybody.